Hey, hey, hey. We're here for our first Kingdom Implementation Room. I am Arnita Strong. I am your Kingdom Marriage Preparation Expert. And tonight, we are here to talk about 5 dating mistakes Christian singles make. And we're going to jump right into it. I want you to let me know that you're in the room. Let me know that you're in the room. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I will be coming back, circling back to respond to your comments. I won't be here very long tonight. I have a short little presentation, but I just wanted to talk about some things that I have been thinking about, some things I've been seeing, and wanted to kind of clear up the air. There's a lot of misinformation going around about dating, Christian dating. Um, Specifically. And so I wanted to come in and kind of clear up the air. So I have about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes if you have some questions set aside to talk to you tonight. Just a short presentation. I do have some slides I'm going to share that'll help me to keep track of what I wanted to say. But again, I want to welcome you. This is our first Kingdom Implementation Room. My plan is to do these every Thursday night at about 8:30. Just come and to gather and talk with you. So let's get started. So again, we're going to be talking about 5 mistakes that Christian singles are making, and these mistakes are blocking your marriage preparation breakthroughs. And so we're going to talk about what those mistakes are. We're going to talk about how we can overcome them, and we're going to have some time for some questions. So again, tonight our topic is 5 Christian dating mistakes you're making right now, and please believe that every one of these mistakes that we're going to be discussing tonight, at some time or another, I have made them as well. So let's get into tonight's topic. I see that I have someone watching. Please say hey. Let me know where you are watching me from. Let's get into it. So, mistake number one is that we are praying without preparing. And the way that I want to explain this is, let's say that I think that most of my audience is comprised of women. And let's say that you are pregnant and you are ready to have your baby. You're ready to get your body back. You're ready to be able to rest. You're ready to be able to sleep on your right side. If you're anything like me, you like sleeping on your right side, but it's not recommended when you're pregnant. So you're ready to have the baby, and you're praying about having the baby. But there is a difference between being ready to get your rest, ready to have your body back, ready to have this bundle of joy that you have been waiting to meet, and being prepared. So being prepared would mean that you have the nursery ready. The room that you have been using as a storage area, you cleared out all of those things. You have the crib, you have the layette, you have your rocking chair, your wingback chairs, all of the things that you're going to need for a nursery. That's what being prepared is. And so one of the critical mistakes that I see is that we are praying for marriage. We're praying for a spouse. We're praying for a husband. We're praying for a wife. But we're not using our single season to actually prepare for those things. It is something like as I was doing these slides earlier today, I thought about when I was in middle school and I decided that I wanted to be in the band and I was going to play the flute. And so our school had instruments, but I didn't want to use the school instruments. I wanted my father to buy a flute. And so he said, well, um, use the school instrument for a year. And then if you like playing the flute, you still want to be in the band, then I'll buy you a flute. And so I decided that I was going to go ahead and use the school instrument. So I used the school instrument. I enjoyed being in the band. I did well in the band, and so the next year still want to be in the band. So my dad bought me a flute, and that's the same thing. Guys, come on. God is a good father. He's not going to give us things that we aren't prepared for. And so that's mistake number one, praying without preparing. And praying without preparation is really presumption. Okay? So let's talk about some of the differences between prayer and preparation. When you are just praying, I think that a lot of times we forget that praying is actually a conversation. It's not just us going and laying our petitions before the Father. It's a conversation. I hope that we're going with a heart of gratitude. We are thankful for what we have. We may lay our petitions before Him, things that are on our hearts. But the other part of that is listening for His voice for what our next step should be. So when you're just praying, you're just asking God, where is my husband? When you're strategic about the prayer, you are figuring out what you need to be developing in yourself during this season of singleness. When you are passively waiting, a lot of times, especially as women, we're told to wait. He that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And yes, we are supposed to wait, but waiting is not passive. Waiting is actually an active it's an action. We are preparing for the things. We're making space in the same way that we prepare to bring our baby home from the hospital after we have our baby. We should be using our single season to prepare for this spouse. And then another difference between prayer and preparation is no action steps. No action steps. We are just praying and waiting. We're not taking any action steps. And how many of you know that the things that we're asking for require us to take some action steps. So when you prepare, you have clear steps about what your next action should be. And every action, once you decide what it is that you desire, whatever your heart's desire is, then every action should take you closer toward that and not farther away from it. And then just praying, often leads to frustration. It leads to frustration because year after year, you're wondering why you haven't gotten your husband, why you haven't met anybody, why you're not having any success with dating. And it leads to frustration. But when you're prepared, you'll be able to look back and see some progress. So let me just check just a minute to make sure I'm not missing any comments. I see two people watching. Please say hey. Let me know where you're watching me from. Mistake number two is that we rush ahead of purpose. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later on in the presentation, but I think that we have gotten a little bit confused about the purpose of marriage. And if you're here, that means that you desire a kingdom marriage. It's not just any marriage. You're desiring a kingdom marriage. And so there are three reasons for a kingdom marriage. And the first reason for a kingdom marriage is for your union to be a reflection of God's love. It should be a reflection to the both of us, to the both of you, for of God's love for you and for each other. And it should also be people looking at your relationship should see and feel the reflection of God's love. So that's the first purpose of a kingdom marriage. The second purpose of a kingdom marriage is to foster growth. Many of us believe, and I used to believe, that when you got into this kingdom relationship, that everything was going to be just smooth sailing. Everything was just going to fit. There was not going to be any conflict. But relationships are mirrors. And so they reflect those pieces of ourselves, those parts of ourselves that we kind of hide in the shadows sometimes, those parts of ourselves that need to be exposed to the light so that we can grow, those areas of growth. And so that's the second purpose of a kingdom relationship, a kingdom marriage. And then the third purpose is to fulfill your purpose on the earth. Both of you individually have a purpose that you were called to fulfill on the earth, and then together as a couple, you have a purpose that you are supposed to be fulfilling. And so when we make the mistake of rushing ahead of our purpose, not knowing what our purpose is, then we attract people that cannot help us. Not only can they not help us with that purpose, sometimes they're a distraction from what our purpose is. So one of the main things that you need to be doing during your season of singleness is to be reflecting and asking for direction and guidance about what your purpose is supposed to be, because your purpose is going to attract your partner. And so here's a purpose checklist that I have put together. In ministry clarity, a lot of times when we hear the word ministry, we think that it means that you're in a pulpit somewhere, you're ministering, you're leading a church. Ministry comes in various forms. It doesn't have to be you in a pulpit. It could be you in front of a camera speaking to a YouTube audience. It could be you teaching small group classes. It could be you as a makeup artist. It could be you as a hairstylist. All of those things could be part of a ministry. So you want to be figuring out what your ministry is. We all have a ministry that we're supposed to be actively engaging in. And then career direction. Many times our careers can be a part of ministry. If we approach everything that we do as if it were a ministry, I think that you kind of would be on the right track. And then your life mission. Have you ever thought about what your life mission would be? Let me know in the comments. Have you thought about what your life mission is? Do you know what it is? Tell me. If you'd like to share, tell me in the comments. And then your kingdom impact. You want to figure out how you want to impact the kingdom of God. You want to make sure that we are creating heaven here on earth. But kingdom impact is about more than what we accomplish while we're here on this side of heaven. It's also about what we create that lives long after we are gone. All right. So let me know in the comments. Have you made any of these mistakes before? I know I certainly have. Mistake number 3 is we're bypassing healing. And a healed heart makes healthy choices. And as I was doing my research here, I was kind of reflecting on some of the decisions that I made when I had not taken the time to unpack some of the things that I had experienced in past relationships. And so I didn't make the best choices. I could sit before you and say that my ex did X, Y, and Z, but the reality is I made a conscious decision to enter relationships where my heart was not healed and I was looking for the wrong thing. So when we bypass healing, we hold up our purpose and we hold up that thing that we really, really desire, which is, if you're here, kingdom marriage. All right. So here are some of the areas that we probably need to focus on to heal those soul ties, those relationships that we have entered and we have not come out of agreement with those entities that we were entertaining at that time. Family wounds. Maybe you come from a family like mine that didn't have examples of healthy relationships. And so that's an area that you need to heal in. And then your past relationships and also identity issues. These are all areas that you may want to think about and reflect on if you need to spend some time healing those areas before you invite someone else into your heart and your life. Mistake number 4, misaligned standards. Your standards are going to determine what your story is. I recall a relationship and I reflect about this relationship often in my videos here. I was dating this guy and our standards just weren't aligned. I didn't really see it at first, but as the relationship progressed, I realized that we just weren't on the same page. We both were believers, we professed to be believers, but the way that I was trying to live my life was not aligned with the way that he was trying to live his. I think that sometimes um, growing up as a believer, the church has kind of taught us how to sin in private, and so he was of the mindset that if nobody saw the sin, it really didn't happen. And we had a conversation once where he said that there was no evidence of his sin, and we were talking about women with children, and I told him that he was a hypocrite because he approached a young woman, young unmarried woman at his church that had gotten pregnant. And I told him he was a hypocrite because, we were engaging in sex at that time. And he said that there was no evidence of his sin. And so I guess that meant that her sin was greater than his because there was evidence because she was pregnant. And that was really, really a wake up call for me. So your misaligned standards, um, that's something that a lot of us are probably struggling with. More people than are actually honest about that are struggling with their standards that are not aligned with people that they're meeting. A lot of times, I see a lot of people are complaining about the dating pool and the quality of the prospects in the dating pool. And what they're really concerned about, what they're really frustrated about is the misalignment of the standards. So you want to be really, really clear about what your standards are, what it is that you need. Let's talk about some kingdom standards. Kingdom standards require that we have a level of spiritual maturity. Remember, I talked about my ex who said that there was no evidence of his sin, and while he did not have any children, we all know that everything that we do is written in the book of life. And so we are all going to have to face judgment for the things that we do. So while there may not have been any evidence of his sin on this side, nothing escapes, and we all have to be called to judgment for the things that we do. And so we want to be using this season of singleness to develop a level of spiritual maturity. We want to have a foundation for our character. We should not be thinking and going about life the same way we were 20 years ago. We should be elevating in our character, refining our character, wanting to be and display the love of Christ in all that we do. We should have alignment of our purpose. You'll notice that I'll talk about that a lot because in my studying and really getting to understand what kingdom marriages is, purpose comes up a lot. Purpose is very important. And then wisdom application. It's not just enough to go to church on Sunday and get the word if we're not actually applying it to our lives. All right. And then mistake number 5 is isolated preparation. We think that we can prepare alone. And you can, but there's no reason that you have to. You need to have a community that can support you as you navigate this season of singleness. Your covering is going to determine your protection. It's going to protect you. It's going to guide you. It's going to advise you to make sure that you're staying on the right path. So isolated preparation is something that you really, really want to consider as well. All right, so let me check the comments. Hey, hey, someone is still here. Let me know that you're here. I don't see any comments coming up. I'm not sure if they're just not coming up on my side, but I will make sure that I go back and check them later. But I want to make sure that I invite you to a free masterclass that I am having. I have 3 sessions coming up on December 16th, the 22nd, and January the 5th. It is a Kingdom Marriage Preparation Breakthrough Masterclass. It's my Christmas gift to you. And this is what we are going to learn in that class. We are going to learn the complete preparation framework. I talked a lot about preparation, and that is the main purpose for our single season is being prepared for our kingdom spouse and the purpose that you're supposed to fulfill together. You're going to get a prayer strategy. Now, I'm not going to give you a prayer. Prayer is an intimate conversation between you and God, but I'm not going to give you the words to say, but I will give you a strategy. So we're not going to just be praying, Lord, where's my husband? We're going to be asking, Lord, what is it that I need to be working on in this season of my preparation, my season of loneliness, of singleness? You're going to get some strategy for prayer, and then you're going to get an implementation guide. You're going to get an implementation guide, and then we'll have a live Q&A. So you'll walk away with a complete preparation framework, a strategy for your prayers. So you don't want to just be aimlessly praying, passively waiting. You're going to have some actionable steps that you can take as a result of being in attendance for that class. And again, the class is on December the 16th, the 23rd, and then I'll be hosting one on January the 5th as well. And so the link, I'll pin the link down in the comments so that you can um, schedule whichever time fits, whichever date fits best for your schedule. But I would love to have you there. All right. So I yeah, just under 30 minutes here. Didn't take long at all. I left my phone upstairs. So I really, really apologize if someone is leaving a comment, but I am not able to see them on this side for some reason, but I will circle back and respond to your comments. I would love to see you in the masterclass on one of those dates. I would love to know which, if any of these mistakes you have ever experienced or made. And make sure that you subscribe so that you can get more of this content about kingdom marriage preparation. We are all about advancing the kingdom of God here on Love Elevated TV. So until next week, same time, my plan is to be here next week, Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more Kingdom Marriage Preparation. And until then, I'll see you later.